And we're back here with the 70's Fender Super. So tonight the goal is to replace both of the bias caps, probably figure out the mess going on here, and then possibly, if we have time, replace this pot. So the first thing we're going to do is just remove this set of wires here. Now, as I was informed in the video, the last video of the series, this is a type of master volume scheme, I guess Matchless uses. I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but yeah, a pretty rudimentary master system that I guess is not super well regarded. And we will be removing that slowly but surely here. And I showed this already in the other episodes of the series. Again, as a reminder, you guys, all of my videos like this that are part of a series, I do have in the description a link to the playlist. So I record everything, and it's all included. So then you can kind of see what's been done, what we discovered, and kind of follow along through the process. So I went over, what was going on here. And one of the things we noticed when we reviewed the amp when we first got in is one of the lugs was broken on the pot here. This is, I believe, the intensity pot. Yeah, the intensity pot. So we have to replace this pot. I'm not sure if that broke when they did the mod, or they did the mod because it broke, or whatever. Who knows? Chicken before the egg. Doesn't really matter, but just pointing that out. So now that's gone. Let's go ahead and remove this cap here. We'll disconnect on this side. All right, there's one down. Now, presumably this lead right here is actually part of the cap. So we're going to go ahead and snip it beforehand, since that is the original cap. That's almost undoubtedly the case. And then we can kind of just fold it over, and then the other side should pop right out. Try to be mindful of this, just like that. So there's two. Now, again, worth pointing out, for the bias supply, you want the positive going towards ground. So always be cognizant of the direction the cap is facing, because you want negative voltage for the bias supply. And that goes for both of these caps. So this is a bit of a different setup than what you see on the typical blackface era, but no biggie. Now, you don't have to, and somebody pointed this out in the last video of this series, that it's not strictly necessary to do what I'm doing here and replacing it exactly how it was from the factory with the two separate caps. However, I personally prefer to keep things as they were originally, and really replace things as they were with modern equivalents 9 out of 10 times, I would say. There's really no reason not to do it that way for this amp, to have two bias caps. The only negative is it's maybe a little bit more expensive to have two caps versus one, but I don't think it's an issue. Go ahead and just remove the resistor from this side as well, so we can get a nice clean connection on the pot. So we have got the first bias cap. So the originals were 80 microfarad, 75 volts. The actual layout called for 50 microfarad, 70 volts, which is kind of interesting. We will be replacing these with 50 microfarad, 100 volts, which will be totally fine. Again, mod caps, these are great. I use these all the time. You can see we already did the cathode bypass caps with mod as well. Now let's just get this end of the resistor back in. Beautiful. All right, now let's go and move on. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and set up with the other bias cap. Same thing, another 50 microfarad, 100 volt. All right, that looks pretty good to me. So now we can go ahead and just get a little bit of a better mechanical connection real quick. We'll bend the leads. All right, and just like that, we've got both bias caps replaced. So now let's go ahead and remove all this crap. I mentioned before, I'm not exactly sure what the goal was here, but we can see this resistor tacked on to this resistor. This is probably the stock one. This is what, brown, green, so 15K is what that should read. And this one right here is brown, brown, black. I think that's red. Brown, black's 100, right? 1, 0. 1,000. So this is, sorry, a 1K. I'm not sure why you would do that. That doesn't really make sense to me, but a lot of this amp did not make sense to me. But you can see it looked like they tried to solder it to the pot casing here and obviously did not get a good connection there. So either way, we're just going to be removing this entirely. Fingers crossed it'll just pop off. And they didn't wrap it around in a noose, which it looks like they did. Oh gosh, okay. Well, that's fun. So it looks like they chopped the 15K and just wrapped that around it. So that's not what you want to see. So it looks like we will have to be replacing this resistor most likely. Let's just go ahead and desolder all this crap from the pot casing. Disgusting. And this we talked about before is kind of in place of the intensity pot. These two wires should be going to the intensity pot. So just keep that in mind. In fact, I'm going to keep it connected and just off to the side for right now while I'm working on everything else here. So while we let the pot cool down, let's kind of inspect this a little bit. See what it measures real quick. I believe I measured it already. Right on the money. So ideally, we'd be able to salvage it. And we are going to add a trim pot to make it adjustable bias. But I'm not sure if there's enough length on here to actually salvage it. So let's find out. Yeah, I think we're going to have to replace it. I don't think it's going to be long enough for me to get a connection I feel really confident in. So let's just go ahead and remove it. So now we want to go ahead and add a trim pot. So I've got a little, I believe it's a 10K, yeah, 10K Pyre trim pot. And we're going to be grounding out these two legs. And then this one will be connected to the resistor. So it'll be just like that right there. And then we'll have the resistor go to this leg right here. So to prep for that, we're going to just go ahead and bend this leg down so we can connect it with the pot casing. Try to make sure it's roughly level with this middle one, which it is. You can see that, hopefully. And then this one, we're going to add just a little bit of a bend to it. Like so. That way we can kind of J-hook on the resistor. There you go, like that. So then we can J-hook the resistor leg on this side and have a really solid mechanical connection. So it'll be something like that. If I could hold it in place. That looks good, really solid connection. Should be really solid there. And we can go ahead and check with the multimeter just to confirm that everything is still working correctly. So the pot is totally fine. Now let's go ahead and add on our 15K carbon film resistor. Now we might have to change this resistor out, so we're not going to make it too crazy. Once we, do the bias, we might find that this doesn't give us quite the range we need. But for now, we're just going to operate on the assumption that should be good. And I will grab the multimeter to show how this works. So we can see we've got about 24K on this end. And then this should bring us back down to 15K, which is what this resistor measures. So there you go. So we've got 15K, which is the stock value. Cool. So now that we've confirmed the adjustable bias mod is working correctly, I just want to quickly mention that this pot right here, because I can't remember if I said this or not, is a hum balance pot. So basically it is balancing between the two output tubes. So if they're not closely matched together, if they're not a good matched set of tubes, basically allowing Fender, this is why they, as far as I understand why they did this in the 70s, is the tube supply was not as good that they were using. And so they weren't matching the tubes as well as they were earlier in the history of Fender. And so this allowed them to reduce some of the noise you will get from imbalanced tubes by balancing them here. And so this is not adjusting the bias globally, it's just adjusting the balance between both power tubes. So with that done, we can go ahead and turn our attention over to this this mess over here in these these connections here and removing this old pot and installing the new one. So let's do that now. So this is a bit bizarre. I went to go unscrew the knob. You can see all the set screws on the knobs here. And this one does not have a set screw. So you can see it looks cleaner than the rest. So obviously a replaced knob. So to pop this off, try and grab one of my tools if I can find it. Although it's very close to the chassis, maybe I can just, there we go. So yeah, this is some kind of aftermarket knob. It's definitely not clean. It's dirty, but not to the same level as the rest of the knobs. So put that off to the side. Take a look at this, and hopefully there's enough teeth there for the, is there not even a washer? Let's go ahead and see if we can remove this. I'm curious, what's under this knob here, because there's like nothing to grab onto. Yeah, see how much higher this is sitting outside of the faceplate? This one's got like a big rounded out hole. I don't know if that's normal or not. See the difference between those two? Is that normal to have a big hole? Very bizarre. This might be hard to get out. Wow, that was really stuck on there. Don't know why, and I still don't understand why there's this giant hole in the chassis or in the faceplate. Let's pull this out here. This is a 500K, so this is a swap, because this should be, if I recall correctly, a 50K. Let's look at the schematic here. Yeah, see, look. Intensity pot, this should be a 50K. This is a 500K, so they swapped it out and broke or cut the pin there to give it the master volume, and potentially modify the chassis in the faceplate as well to fit it. So hopefully we can get the replacement in there no problem, but it should be a 50K. There's our replacement Alpha 50K pot. And this is a funky pot as well. It's a reverse audio, which is a bit different than a traditional pot. Looks like we can fit the spacer in there, which should take care of that problem. Now let's make sure we can fit the knob on there still. Just realized this knob is expecting teeth. Gosh dang it. See, this has got teeth, so it just fits on like that. That's not going to work on here. We need a set screw style, like all of these. So just to demonstrate that, I will take off this one. So just to demonstrate, I took the knob off of here. You can see this is a solid shaft versus a kind of spined shaft here. And it makes sense why they would replace that knob, because one of these does not work well on a spined shaft where it's got a set screw. So unfortunately that knob was lost to time for them to do this mod, but see, so that works totally fine. Can't pull it off. So the owner is going to have to purchase, or I'll purchase on his behalf, a new knob. But for now, we can go ahead and put this one back. One thing I'll say that I'm not a big fan of with these Alpha pots is they just have the nastiest feeling action. They're not smooth at all, and they require some deoxit to feel good. I've run into this a number of times. You can hear it. It just sounds cheap. But everyone I talk to says these are the pots to go with nowadays. So I've never actually had any functional issues with them, but definitely not a fan of the action. So this was tucked away in the back there. It's not the greatest solder joint here, so we'll probably redo that. But this will be soldered to the chassis. Or sorry, not soldered to the chassis, soldered to the pot itself. I'll pull up the schematic again to show you guys. So we've got this far lug being connected to ground. So this right here will connect to that far lug. And then these two lugs will be connected to the two wires that have been hijacked with this little, and of course I locked it in there with the install in the pot. Gosh dang it. I'm not sure if I can pull it out now. That's all right, I can desolder and pull it out through the other end. Either way, there's two wires that need to connect to the other two lugs here. So let's go ahead and do that now. And you guys won't be able to really see any of this work. There's no way for me to really do it and be able to see myself and also show you guys. So you'll just see the end product. All right, we got it all wired up here. Hopefully you guys will be able to see this. So let me pull up the schematic so you guys can see what I'm looking at. And let's see, can you see it? Yeah. So we've got the ground connection here. We're able to redo the connection to the brass plate for right here. This lug. This lug, which says brown, is actually in this amp white, which runs all the way over here to this end of the roach right there. And then we've got this, what says yellow is, I guess, yellow-green in this one. So that's correct. And then that runs all the way over here to the right here to the 220K. This right there. So with that, we are done with everything over here. Making good progress. Looks much better, much cleaner. And I think we'll probably end there tonight. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And yeah, if you guys are enjoying the series, let me know in the comments. I always love hearing from you guys, even if you're just a passive watcher from afar. Hey, let your presence be known. Let me know in the comments you enjoy watching this stuff. And give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And until next time, see ya.